I wish I could tell you the worst thing that happened at my wedding was a wilted bouquet or a late caterer. I wish I could say the universe misread my RSVP and sent comedy instead of catastrophe. But no. The universe heard my name loud and clear, and when the officiant asked if anyone knows of any reason these two should not be joined, my best friend, the girl who knew where I kept my spare key and my softest secrets, stepped forward, cleared her throat, and exposed the one truth I'd wrapped in silken silence. She said my first marriage, my broken, brief, nearly nameless marriage, hadn't been in the program. My name is Zara, and this is the story of how the most beautiful day of my life cracked in half along a fault line I thought I'd sealed. And how the light got through anyway. I met Ian on a Tuesday that smelled like monsoon rain and coffee. He was the kind of man who apologized to chairs when he bumped into them. He listened like it was his favorite hobby. We were, as my mother would say, a good balance. I was the list maker, the planner, the woman with 3 shades of tape in her drawer. He was the big sigh at the end of a long day, the warmth that lives in a room after someone kind has left. Our love grew without fireworks. More like a city garden. Small, stubborn, tended. By the time he asked me to marry him, I felt less like I was stepping into a new life, and more like we were naming the one we'd been building all along. And there was Noor, my best friend since the summer we dared each other to jump from the broken pier. I put band-aids on her feet when her new heels lied. She talked me through my first real heartbreak while we ate fries in my car with the windows down because salt and air are the most honest therapists. She knew my shade of panic and the exact joke that could pull me back toward the shore. We took each other's pictures to prove later that we had been happy. Noor knew everything about me. Or so I believed. The truth is, there was one thing I had not given her. Not because I didn't trust her, but because the words still scraped when I said them. At 19, I married a boy who made vows like promises you'd write on a fogged window. Armin. We were together for 7 dizzy, narrow months. He loved loudly. He threw words like rose petals and like stones. He apologized with a fanfare that made my neighbors send heart emojis. He broke me in the quiet between those grand gestures. The night I left, the night my neighbor's porch light became a lighthouse and I carried my little suitcase like it was a passport to a country called safety, I did not tell anyone for a week. I signed papers that called it an annulment, wiped my browser history like that could erase the bruise the world did not see, and decided to become a person with a neat narrative. When I met Ian years later, he asked the right questions. What scares you? What does peace feel like? One evening, on a bench by the water with plastic cups of chai warming our hands, I told him the truth. I told him about 19 and the porch light and the papers. He didn't look at me like I was fragile or ruined. He said, "Thank you for trusting me. The way you say grace before you eat." He never asked for the gory details. He asked what to do if a shadow ever walked back into our home. We built our love on that. Plain good wood. I didn't tell Noor, not then. I told myself I would when the story no longer felt like a hand around my throat. I told myself the silence was temporary, a dress I would change out of when the party moved outside. Then life got busy with simple, lovely things, and my old vow, to tell the girls who kept me alive, was another item on a list I kept moving to tomorrow. We planned a wedding that felt like us. Not extravagant, soft gold and eucalyptus, laughter stitched to the edges. My mother cried into her sorry and happy excess. Ian's father practiced the speech he swore he wouldn't give. Noor and I stayed up the night before, our faces shiny with face masks, our hair pinned like we were rehearsing for a crown. She asked, "Are you afraid?" I lied and said no. I was afraid. Not of marriage. Of the old story, the old ghost. Of fate hearing me say always and smirking. I kissed Noor's cheek and said, "Promise me everything tomorrow will be easy." She crossed her heart with a grin and said, "Easier than breathing." There are moments the body remembers forever. The weight of the veil, the orchestra of bracelets on your wrist, the way love looks when it fills a room and you are its center. I walked toward Ian under a canopy of light. He looked like the answer to a prayer I didn't know I'd said correctly. I heard the officiant. I heard the hush. I heard the smallest sound. Heels on marble, and then Noor's voice steady and wrong in that space. "I can't let you do this without knowing," she said. "Ian, you deserve the truth. Zara's been married before." The sound in the hall was a gasp, a ripple, a living thing. Ian's eyes found mine and did not move, not to her, not to anyone. My mother swayed, someone steadied her. My aunt said something about shame that I will forgive her for when I'm kinder. I did not cry. I felt an old instinct flicker, duck, hush, minimize, but it burned out. I stood very still. Noor's face was pale with resolve, like someone convinced her cruelty was a kind of courage. It was annulled, she added, as if that softened the edge. But he existed. She should have told you. Here is what I wanted to do, scream. I did tell him. I just didn't give you a seat in that conversation. Here is what I did. I took a breath that felt like stepping on glass. I said, Noor, stop. I did not ask her why. I did not give her permission to perform a morality play using my life as the prop table. I turned to Ian. I told you, I said. You told me, he said. His voice was clear proof that someone in that room was remembering how to breathe. And I told you I loved you. There was a murmur. Relief from some, disappointment from others who had already prepared their outrage. The officiant opened his mouth. Noor wasn't done. But did you know it was Armin? She said, voice rising as if volume could turn betrayal into public service. Did you know he still lives in this city? Did you know he... I broke then, not into tears but into something more dangerous. Noor. My voice cracked against the wall and came back to me stronger. Stop. This is not your microphone. Her eyes shone with certainty. He messaged me, she said. Last week. He said you never told anyone the truth about what happened. He said, Ian moved then because there is a moment a good man steps in not to save you. No one saves you from your own history, but to stand beside you while you choose yourself. Enough, he said to Noor, soft but unmistakable. If you think I am a man who would marry a woman without knowing her, you don't know me. And if you think our trust is a thing you can test like a siren, you don't know us. Noor's mouth trembled into disbelief. I'm protecting you, she said to him. He shook his head. No. You are protecting a version of yourself that gets to be the hero. He turned to me. Do you want to do this? Not the wedding but the living. The daily choosing after the public wound. It was the best question anyone has ever asked me. Yes, I said, and it was not shaky. The officiant, bless him. New ceremony is sometimes the only kindness left. He shortened the next part to its bones. We said the words. We were announced. People clapped like they were trying to drown out something unholy. My mother cried into me with such ferocity I felt my spine straighten. My brave girl, she said. I don't know if she meant walking or not running. The reception happened in a blur. If you have ever floated outside your life while your body shook hands and your mouth said thank you, you know the surreal kindness of strangers feeding you cake with gentle hands. Ian did not leave my side. Noor did not approach us. My phone rattled with messages I ignored. My cousin whispered that Noor was in the courtyard, crying and smoking like a tragic heroine. I ate a grape I didn't want and smiled at an uncle I didn't like and kept breathing. When the last plate had been cleared and the lights dimmed to that soft gold that makes everyone look like an old painting, I found Noor. She stood under a pomegranate tree like a poem. She looked small and furious, the way we all look when our story does not play out the way it did in our heads. I walked toward her and felt my hand steady even as my heart did its dull drum. Why? I asked. No preface. No stage dressing. Why? She swallowed. Because secrets rot, she said. Because men leave when they feel fooled. Because I watched my mother lose everything when the truth came late. Because honesty matters, even if it hurts. Honesty matters, I said. You are right about that. But honesty isn't a theater. It is a table. It is an invitation. You turned it into a microphone. And you weren't honest about the one thing that mattered most, that this was not about me. It was about you. She flinched. He messaged me, she repeated, as if his text were sacred scripture. He said you never told anyone he never hit you, that it was all just arguments. He said you lied. I laughed then, a sound that tasted like salt and relief. There it is, I said. He found you. Of course he did. Abusers are excellent at locating bridges. She bit her lip so hard she left a red crescent. He said you ruined his reputation. He ruined his life, I said quietly. When he decided love is something you hold by the throat, I stepped closer. You think the only honorable harm is the kind committed in the name of truth. But Noor, public humiliation is not truth-telling. It is control in a prettier dress. Her eyes were wet. I thought I was saving you from a worse hurt later. Or saving Ian, I said. Pick one. You can't save both of us from the same thing. And you can't save anyone by playing God at a microphone. She folded into herself, arms around her ribs. I thought, she stopped. I thought you'd tell me everything. I closed my eyes. There it was, the smaller, truer injury. I should have told you, I said. The apology unclenched something in me, and equaled nothing in the ledger of what she'd done. Both things true, sore and stubborn. But my silence wasn't about you. It was about still being a girl who thinks saying it out loud will summon him into the room. I should have told you. I couldn't. We stood there with the tree listening, adding our words to the stories it had already heard. She whispered, I'm sorry. Not the big theatrical kind. The kind a person says to the floor, as if the ground might forgive her first. I know, I said. I love you. I will always love you. And I don't know when I will forgive you. We both winced at how much that weighed. I took a breath. Take a break from my life, I added. Not forever, but long enough to learn the difference between honesty and harm. She nodded, a little nod that looked like a person agreeing to drink the bitter medicine. She reached for me. I didn't step forward. There are times a hug is a song you cannot sing without breaking the instrument. I went back inside and found my husband. My husband. The word sat right like a chair I'd measured twice and finally brought home. Ian put his arm around me and didn't say anything. Good men know silence can be balm. She's gone home, my mother said to my shoulder. I nodded. We left the hall to the last of the folks who dance until even the DJ begs mercy. We went to a hotel where we took off our finery like armor, and sat on the floor eating the fruit my aunt had insisted we take for the road of marriage. I told Ian about the porch light in 19 and papers and bruises people don't see. He told me about the ways he had been selfish in small stupid ways in past lives. We made a promise that wasn't florid. We would tell each other the truth even when it tried to pretend it was a storm. In the weeks that followed, the world did what it always does. It took our scandal, chewed it, and moved on. A few people called to apologize for their whispers. Some didn't. Nor sent flowers with a note that didn't say I'm sorry, because she had already said it. It said, I'm learning. I put the flowers in a vase and the note in a drawer. Learning is the right verb for people who want to make amends. Love without learning is just habit. I started therapy again because old ghosts don't respect new rings. I sat on a soft couch and told a stranger the precise color of my wedding day. She told me my friend had confused allyship with audience. She told me forgiveness is not a door that swings once. It's a gate you open and close while you check the weather. She told me to write Armin a letter I would never send, putting each lie in ink so my body could stop holding it like a debt. I wrote it on cheap paper. I burned it in a kitchen bowl. The ashes looked smaller than the feeling had felt. Ian and I made a home where light could find us. We learned the exact sound of each other's joy. We found a pace that was ours, slow in the morning, faster in the afternoon when the city needed us, soft again at night when we negotiated the small, daily treaties of a shared life. Who does dishes, who schedules the dentist, who apologizes first when we both were clumsy. Marriage was nothing like the dramatic thing I feared and everything like the gentle work I crave. Attention, intention, repetition. Nor took her break. It lasted 3 months and felt like a season where I kept reaching for a scarf that wasn't hanging on its hook. I didn't fill the gap with a new girl. I let it be empty. When she texted finally, it was a photo of the broken pier, the place we dared each other once to jump. The water looks less scary now, she wrote. I stared at the picture for a long time. Then I said yes because saying no forever would be a lie about who I am. We met at the river. She looked older in the way people do when they've carried a mirror around and actually used it. I went to therapy, she blurted. I hate it and love it and cry every time. Good, I said, and we both smiled like women who know too much about salt. She took a breath and gave me the rest, not because I demanded it but because growth had made her braver. Armin had messaged her with a sugary righteousness. He told her his version. I was dramatic. I had made him hit the wall because my silence was violence. I had wasted a good man's life. Nor said the part she hadn't said before. He said you don't tell the whole truth because you like looking like a saint. She looked ashamed. And I believed him because some small mean part of me wanted you to be less perfect. I am not perfect, I said gently. I am stitched together by people who told me the truth without breaking me in half. Be one of those people. I touched her hand. Truth has a temperature. Check it next time before you pour. She nodded, tears clinging to her lashes like dew. We walked. We didn't fix everything. We put another stone down on the bridge. You don't cross in one day. Last week I cooked dinner for my mother, my husband, and a little later Noor. We ate on the balcony because evening had the decency to be kind. My mother retold a story for the 6th time. Noor didn't correct her. Ayan brought out the tea. Noor raised her glass to me. To the truth, she said, set at tables. I laughed. To microphones, I added. Left in their stands unless requested. She winced and then smiled. Noted. When the dishes were washed and the house was quiet except for the old hum of the fridge, I stood in our tiny kitchen and thought about that day. The dress packed away, the vows already animated by use, the moment my life was almost rewritten by someone else's pen. I thought about the 19-year-old who left with a suitcase and a spine like a question mark. I thought about the woman I am now, whose spine curves only for hugs. If you're here because you're afraid your past will crash your present, hear me, it might. People will always be willing to audition for the role of narrator in your life. But secrets are not grenades, they're seeds. In the dark they grow roots. In the light they can grow leaves. The difference isn't whether someone drags you into the sun at a time that suits them. The difference is whether you choose the moment and the person who will hold you when you tremble. My best friend exposed my secret on my wedding day. That sentence used to taste like blood. Now it tastes like iron, still metallic but strong. It is a tool I work with, not a weapon lodged in me. Nor is learning. I am learning. Ayan holds my hand not like a claim, but like a promise kept daily, in small and ordinary ways. There are 2 kinds of truths, the kind you hurl and the kind you hold. One breaks. The other builds. I know which kind I want, and every day I choose it.